When you hear those kinds of words and you experience the actions of abuse from someone who's supposed to love you unconditionally, you really start to doubt yourself. If you're listening to this and you feel like you've been hustling for your worth, if you feel like you've been changing yourself, shrinking yourself, striving to be perfect so people will love you, please hear me. You don't have to live like that anymore. For the first time this year, I let go of that. Your worth was never up for debate. You don't have to earn love. And maybe today is the day that you actually start believing that. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast, where we help you understand this new body of yours. Maybe you've started to experience some hormonal changes. Maybe you're post-menopause, but we know your body is inherently different, and those old fat loss strategies just really aren't cutting it anymore. So it is time to learn how to work with your body instead of against it, so you can open up those fat burning pathways, get your energy back, and feel confident again. And so today's podcast is a little bit different. It stemmed from some conversations that I've been having with clients lately. And really, this podcast is for anyone who's had the thoughts of, if I could just lose weight, finally hit that goal, get the job, or be perfect, then I'd feel happy. Then I'd feel loved. And I get it because, this is a topic of conversation that comes up all the time. And I believed that lie for a very, very long time. Like, it has really only been, I would say, probably the last 6 months where things have changed for me. And today I want to share a story that I've never shared in this much detail before. A story about the relationship with my dad, the wounds that it's left, how it's affected me my entire life, but I didn't really figure it out till now. And I want to share it because I've shared it with a couple clients that we've had this conversation with, and it's been very big for them. And if it can help 2 people, that's amazing. But I just hope that if I share it now, it can help others too. And so what it comes down to is, like, if you're a person who's been striving for approval and you never seem to really get it, right? If you feel like you've had to shrink yourself, change yourself, prove yourself to be worthy, then you're in the right place. This episode is the one for you. And so when I'm talking about my dad, first and foremost, I want to say that I don't actually think he's a bad person. I think he's had a lot of stuff in his past that, he didn't have the skills to cope with. And it's very hard because I truthfully used to hate him. I used to, have this picture in my mind of who he was and all the things that he's done. I mean, I grew up with a dad who was physically and verbally abusive. He used to tell me that I wasn't smart enough. He used to criticize what I wore. I'll never forget very vividly, I had gotten my first pair of Lululemon pants, and they were the ones that had the flared bottom, the originals. And I was so excited. And I've always spent most of my time in high school wearing sweatpants and baggy clothes. I was, the Tom girl, and I was so excited to wear these leggings. And he actually said the words, "You look like a slut. Is that really what you're wearing to school today?" And I'm not saying that to put him down. I just want to paint you the picture because I think a lot of us have probably experienced words like that, right? He used to say things like, "I wasn't good enough and my boyfriend was going to leave me." And truth was, eventually he did, right? He told me there was no point in pursuing education past high school because it wouldn't matter. It'd be a waste of money and I wouldn't make it anyways. And the thing is that with some of those things, I believed him. Education, not so much, because I really felt like that was going to be the thing that set me free, that would give me the opportunities to not kind of be in the situation my mom was in, right? And so, but with everything else, my self-worth, the way I saw myself, the overachieving, just always trying to fit in, and, those things, I was looking for acceptance in all the wrong places. I wasn't really getting it from him. And it did affect me a lot. And so when you hear those kinds of words and you experience the actions of abuse from someone who's supposed to love you unconditionally, you really start to doubt yourself. Like, if my own dad can't see value in me, maybe there isn't any. Right? And I spent years just trying to be whoever I thought I needed to be in order to avoid more rejection. I was like a chameleon, like they're in dirt, they turn brown. They're in trees, they turn green. Like they're just trying to adapt to the environment for safety. And so in every environment I was in, I would try to change to fit in. I adapted to the people around me, what they wanted, what they liked, the way that they spoke, whatever I could possibly do to just fit in. But the more that I shifted, the less I even knew who I was, the more unhappy I was. And deep down, like all I wanted was to feel loved and accepted just as me. And it felt like everything that I was doing was just wrong. And like, I didn't have a ton of friends in high school. I was bullied a lot. I, just never felt like I belonged somewhere. And that was really hard. And so there's lots of things that I did growing up, like, always scanning the environment for threats, like always watching, like, is my dad in a good mood, trying to control what my sister was going to say so she wouldn't piss him off and then he wouldn't get into a rage and get abusive? Or, is he in a good mood, a bad mood? Is it something that I can share with him today? Do I have to hold back and wait? Like it was constantly just scanning the environment all the time to try and control it. And it was out of a place of like safety, right? But I didn't realize how much that carried into everything. When I was at school, when I was in jobs, constantly adapting who I was and how I was reacting to also try and control how other people would feel, how they would view me, right? And I didn't realize that I was doing this. Like from childhood, it was a necessity, but into adulthood, it was exhausting. Like when you're constantly trying to control everything, it's a lot, and you're constantly looking for the worst case scenario and trying to be like 2 steps ahead, right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that, where we're trying to control what people think of us, what they say, how they feel, and just adjusting to that, right? And I didn't realize it stemmed from this childhood place. And so when I was trying to do all these things in control and also get people to like me, because that's all I wanted was to fit in, I started chasing worth in 2 big places. The first was appearance and the second was achievement. And so I really thought the answer was to change myself physically. Like maybe if I dressed a certain way, if I was a certain size, if I looked a certain way, people would like me, right? And so, maybe I'd be more put together. I'd be more worthy if I dressed a certain way, and like what people would think of me, it would make me more valuable. So I threw myself into different kinds of diets. Like I remember being in university and I would fast, and I would break my fast with a kiwi and literally 8 almonds. And I remember this, I would fast in the morning. I would walk to university because I lived about like a 30-minute walk. So I would walk, and then I would go to class and sit there for 3 hours because I was taking summer classes. And then I would have a kiwi and 8 almonds. And then I would go work out. And then I would go to my labs in the afternoon. And it was like, I was just hoping that I could be thinner, I could be prettier, more put together, that, if I looked a certain way and I was like the fit girl, the very beautiful trainer at the gym, that, that I'd be enough, right? And I was doing anything to get that approval. And then this came hand in hand with being an overachiever. I would try to go above and beyond for everything. I wanted to be the one that was promoted. I wanted to be the one that had the accolades, all the certifications, the highest averages, honor roll, all the things, right? That I thought if I accomplished enough, if I did enough, if I said yes to everyone, then maybe I'd be liked, and that would be, I'd be seen as worthy. I would be valuable to other people, that I'd finally belong. And the kicker is, I reached the goal weight. I accomplished all the things. And from the outside, it looked like I had everything together. I'll never forget my best friend in grad school was like, I was so nervous to be like a student with you and work under the same supervisor because you were the popular girl. And I'm like, the popular girl? I didn't have friends. But I was so lonely. I had no idea who I was. I didn't have those close relationships at all. I had my coworkers that I would show up and talk to at work, but it was superficial and that was it. And most of them didn't even like me because they could see that I was trying to be the goody-goody brown noser trying to move my way up. Right? And so it was so interesting to hear what other people viewed me as when I didn't feel that way at all. Right? And so inside of all of that, the overachieving and the accomplishments and looking a certain way, I still didn't feel like I was enough. Because the truth was that what I wanted wasn't the weight loss. It was love. It was acceptance. It was to feel seen, to have a community that I feel like I could share and belong to. And there was no number, no achievement that gives you that. Let's be honest, right? And so I wish I would have understood sooner that, with my dad's actions towards me, like those didn't have anything to do with me. They had everything to do with him. He was projecting like his pain, his fear, his unhealed wounds from abuse from his parents. And he didn't know me. He still doesn't know me. I haven't talked to him since, 2013. Like, I don't even know if he knows that my mom passed away. And it's like, it's not that hard to find me. All you gotta do is Google my name now. Like, you can find me. He's just never reached out. And for the first time this year, I let go of that. Because my worth was never his to define. And I think that's the hardest part is like so many women that I talk to, we have this hurt, this pain from what other people have said about us or how they've treated us. But our worth is not theirs to define. And it's not yours either. Right? So if you've been carrying the weight of someone else's words or actions, if you've been changing yourself to try and fit in, I want all of you to know that the version of you that's been hiding is the most valuable one at all. Like when I'm on a call and, a woman breaks down and we end up crying together because I'm obviously an emotional person. To me, that's the most beautiful moment because I get to see you. I want to reach through the screen and hug you and say, I love this version of you because it's real. It's raw. It's authentic. It's who you are. You're not putting up a screen anymore. Like you can tell when someone's not totally being open. You feel that wall in between you guys. And so when I get to see the part that we don't want to share, the ugly, the messy, that's my favorite part. Because you don't have to change. You don't have to shrink yourself to be loved. You are enough right now, exactly as you are. I think back to my mom all the times we've had together. And I loved her when she was pregnant with my sister. I loved her when she was overweight and had really short hair. I loved her when her hair was long. I loved her when she was in sweatpants. I loved her when she was in dresses. I can't even tell you how much she weighed at any given point on any given day. Because I just loved her for who she was. And I got to see the mess. I saw the abuse. I saw the breakdowns. I would hear her crying at nighttime. And somehow I think that makes you love them more. And so I think it's important to share the mess, to say, I'm not okay, that I'm struggling, or whatever your biggest fears are, because That's the stuff that sets you free. And knowing that, we put so much emphasis on what a couple people told us at their absolute worst moments of high emotion, of anger, of frustration, when they're having a bad day. That has nothing to do with you, but somehow we just absorb that and it becomes our identity and we forget everything else. Everything else. And so something that helped me a lot and has been incredibly powerful was an exercise that I got out of the book called David Perceived He Was King. And it was massive to me. It told you to reach out to a few people, some who have known you for a very long time, and then some who have not known you for that long, but you're still close with. And you ask 3 questions. And I really encourage you to do this because this was a big one for me. 1, what do you believe are my 3 greatest qualities? 2, what is the biggest impact I've had on your life? And 3, what is a memory that comes to mind when you think of me? And this helps so much because we hold on to the negative ones so much. And I'm not going to lie, it felt awkward when I was asking for people for this stuff, but the responses completely changed how I saw myself. Because when we're looking at identity, it's frustrating when you feel like you've changed and other people don't see it. Right? I've put in the work, I'm different now. People just don't believe you because they're stuck onto the person that you used to be. Right? But then there's you're changing and you're not realizing it. And people no, you're this person, you're so amazing, and you doubt yourself, right? And so identity is really when what you believe to be true about yourself gets confirmed. And that can be from an experience, that can be from, maybe something someone says, maybe from God. That was a big one for me. But when we agree with what other people are saying about us, it really solidifies our identity. And that's why so many of us are stuck in this self-doubt, unworthy, filled with shame and guilt cycle, is because we agree with what other people are saying about us. What if we agreed with what people say is good? And so this was huge for me. There was things that I knew were going to come up, like resiliency and strength. I've heard it a lot. From people, just from my past and what we've been through. And I used to hate that. I used to hate when people would say, you're so strong, you're so resilient, because I would say always, I don't want to have to be. I don't want to have to be because that means that bad things happen. And I don't have a choice to be strong. But I have learned that that is a gift God has given me because it's a gift my dad never got. He didn't have the strength and the resiliency to stop the cycle from the abuse from his parents. And that's something God blessed me with, which I am so grateful for. But man, it is hard. That doesn't mean it's easy, but I'm grateful for it. There were things like, you're patient. I don't believe I'm a patient person. I think I'm pretty impatient, to be honest. I want things now, just like everybody else. But people would be giving me examples of it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am a patient person. And so now I consider myself a patient person, and I find it easier to be patient because I believe that whatever you believe to be true about yourself is how you're always going to act. If you believe that you're a hothead, you're always going to be a hothead. Oh, I'm spontaneous. You're always spontaneous. I'm not a planner. You won't plan anything, right? Because we're always acting in accordance as to what we believe to be true about ourselves. So this was a very big moment for me where I was able to be oh my gosh, it is true. It is true. And that's amazing. And I wish that more people would believe the good things about them that are true and value that more than what someone said when they're pissed off and they're struggling and they're frustrated and it has nothing to do with you. You have spent so many years trying to be someone that you're not, or fitting into the box that people have put you in or try to put you in. You only focus on the negative stuff. You forget how much light and how much impact you actually bring to others. There were things that people said about things that they remember that are shocking to me. And it was interesting because people who have known me for a very long time versus people who do not know me for as long, is very interesting to see the stories that came up for them that were impactful and the way that they view me, right? Because they see the qualities that I have that have stayed for a long time, from when I was 5 years old to now, right? Versus people who see the newer qualities that really stuck out to them that have only known me for 3 years. And so, like one was like, you're a risk taker. You have done things with business and work that like I would never do because it seems like too much of a gamble. And you've shown me that like hope and risk and faith, like that's big. And I thought that was really cool because I didn't consider myself a risk taker at all. Like there was a lot, and it was just very beautiful. And I really recommend that you do this. We do this with a lot of our clients, and it's always very eye-opening and very helpful. And so if you're in a place where you're just like questioning your worth, it might be time to change everything for you too. Right? Like this was big for me. And, I had a mentor that said some not great things about me, and basically told me that I shouldn't try to grow my business. And if that would have happened 2 years prior, before I did these things, I probably would have listened. I probably would have let the self-doubt creep in. I probably wouldn't have been as confident. And when that happened, I actually just prayed about it. And I was like, God, I just really need you to show me who I am today, because I don't believe those things to be true, but like, just remind me. And it was crazy. I just had messages coming out of nowhere about how we've impacted their life for things clients reached out to me. Nobody knew I was dealing with this stuff. And it was really beautiful and really affirming and what I needed, because it's very easy to let what one person says dictate how you feel for your entire day, your entire life. And that's just one person's opinion based on their struggles and their upbringing and everything, right? And so if you're listening to this and you feel like you've been hustling for your worth, if you feel like you've been changing yourself, shrinking yourself, striving to be perfect so people will love you, please hear me. You don't have to live like that anymore. Your worth was never up for debate. You don't have to earn love. And maybe today is the day that you actually start believing that. Like I've struggled a lot from my dad, and I used to blame him for a lot. And now I've realized that mess has become part of the message. It's part of what allows me to be able to help other women who are struggling through some of these things. And that even when you don't feel worthy, even when you don't think you're enough, or you're failing, or you're not perfect, or whatever it might be, I get to tell you, like, you are still loved, and you are still beautiful, and you are still worthy, and you don't have to earn it. Because I think a lot of us just do hold on to things from our childhood. And I'm not saying it's easy, obviously. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not telling you to say it's a blessing, because it can be really hard, some of the stuff that we've been through. But I'm saying that it's your story. You get to decide what that means. Nobody else gets to tell you what your experience means to you. You don't get to, you get to decide are people right? Are people wrong? And I just want you to remember that you are loved, that you are valuable. The world needs you, the real you. And if you're someone of faith like me, your worth is God-given. No person, no wound, no amount of love withheld can change that. You were made with purpose, and you're already loved so much beyond measure. And there is nothing that you can do to change that. And so I hope this was helpful. I hope there were little nuggets in there that can help you move forward today. And I mean it when I say it. I love you so, so much. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.